Let's bring in our panel, Brian Anderson, Steve Sanchez, and Whitley Yates to talk about this. Brian, I'll start with you because we've talked about this many times before. People want justice when something bad happens like this, and they also want the bad guys locked up. And it seems like that's not happening. Why is it not happening?
It's a problem. You know, again, politicians prioritize that this is a gun crime, so guns are to blame, instead of illegal guns. We don't know who has them. We don't know the circumstances of this woman's killings either. But for the most part, politicians just like to make a big name for themselves about going after guns. Legal guns, unfortunately, they make it very hard for people to own legal guns nowadays. But they don't, you know, look at New Jersey, for example, between Newark and Camden. And it's just horrible out there, and you don't see any dent being made in catching these people and sending them to jail for an extra long time for crimes committed with illegal firearms.
Yeah, Steve, you know, I think also we think about the Biden administration and their soft on crime policies, those policies that plague the very liberal cities in the country. And it seems that actions have fewer, or I should say terrible actions, criminal actions have fewer and fewer consequences. Do you think that's part of the problem, and how can we reverse that?
Not giving the extreme consequences to these monsters that perpetrate crimes. We're just not, and it's unfortunate. And you know, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I mean, evil's been unleashed in this country. We have to start saying that. We talk about crime. It's evil. These people are doing this. If this woman was targeted, which it seems like she was, you know, why aren't we making a bigger deal? And I got to compliment Newsmax for actually discussing this story, because a lot of the other news networks, they do a blurb and then they move on.
Yeah, I want to also talk about a case of in Selma, California, where a police officer, 24 years old, Gonzalo Carrasco Jr., 24 years old, was killed by a felon on probation. And that's, can we go to the next one? I'm not talking about this one, folks. Stay with me here. I'm talking about the third example here. There's so many murders, by the way, that, but here's what bothers me, Willie. Obviously, anybody being killed like this, an officer, a felon on probation. People, you know, people don't believe that the judicial system is working to keep them safe now.
I would agree. And when you look at the cities that this is happening in, when you look at New Jersey, it's a Democratic ran state, the entire state. When you look at California, Democratic ran. When you look at Memphis, once again, Democratic ran. I find it interesting that the senators in New Jersey, like Cory Booker, are advocating for what's happening in Memphis and what's happening in Tennessee, and not looking at what's in their own districts and their own states and what they can do to remedy these types of issues. In these Democratic-led and ran cities and states, what we're seeing is crime is out of control. Right here in Indianapolis, the exact same thing. Someone was on probation, arrested for having a gun. He was let out in 24 hours and went and murdered someone 48 hours later.
All right, we're going to leave that conversation there and take a break, come back with more on American Agenda. Stay with us.